Okay, number 21, role modeling for children. How to anything. It's kind of strange that in our world of education, it's very clear to us, if a kid doesn't know math, you teach them math. If a kid doesn't know spelling, you teach them how to spell. If a kid doesn't know how to read, you teach them how to read. If a kid doesn't know geometry, you teach them geometry. If a kid doesn't behave, you punish him. Sorry? I didn't follow that. One second. Why is it obvious to us that in any area where a kid doesn't know how to do something right, you teach them how to do it right? But when it comes to behavior, all of a sudden there's this automatic assumption that if you don't behave, you have to be disciplined, as opposed to, well, how about role modeling how to behave? Oh, you mean discipline is after you know how to behave and still aren't doing it, and various corrective measures have been implemented but didn't work. Now you go to discipline. So our Darko is really about helping the child be self-disciplined. And that means being in control of themselves by us role modeling for them how to behave. And it goes down to the smallest detail so that the child learns, I get it, you want me to be in control of my life, of my hands, of my legs, of my mouth, of my mind, of my attitude. So we're going to give you about 25 examples. Number 1 of 21.1 is how to walk. What? Yeah, so what we do is you lay out on a piece of tape a line on the floor of the classroom, and you have the children stand on or sit on both sides of the line and watch you, yes, you the teacher, walk on the line. So you will walk on the line very steadily from the beginning of the line to the end of the line. The line could be about, let's say, 10 feet long. Now that's easy enough, but let the children see you deliberately watching the line that you're placing one foot in front of the other on that line. The next level of that, very simple, is either take a champagne glass, a Kiddush cup, fill it not to the very top, but let's say within 1 centimeter of the brim, and fill it with wine or another drink. And now do the same thing, walk on this line. Can you see me walking on the line? And you're holding the cup without spilling. If you think that's a bit too much for the children to balance it underneath, then hold the glass from its stem and walk on the line, 1 foot in front of the other, and do it very slowly, very deliberately, and have the children realize, hey, guess what's going to happen next? You're going to ask who wants a turn to do what I just did. And this is a lesson which is completely in total silence. You didn't tell them what to do or how to do it. You just said, I'm going to show you how we can walk in a straight line. And you're just helping the children pay attention. That's the key terminology over here. Because we've mentioned this earlier, awareness is the result of paying attention. So paying attention is really the starting point of creating an awareness. Once you've got awareness, then you can have a critical mind. Then you can have, because of your awareness, you can have a discriminating mind. You can tell the difference between walking nicely and not walking nicely. Well, that's not a very clear description, nicely or not nicely. Who knows what that is? So here's where we're going to define it. Walking nicely means walking 1 foot in front of the other without losing balance, walking slowly and deliberately. Walking not nicely would be swinging my arms around as I walk. I don't care if I walk over or on your materials which you're working with on a mat on the floor, or bump into someone, and because I'm not paying attention to my body, and therefore I'm not having awareness of the objects, moving objects, people, furniture, physical objects, stationary, that are in my environment. So walking in a straight line is number 1. In some schools, what they actually do, and only if you feel you can get away with this. I'm not sure if the Frum culture will really support this, in terms of it being a good idea for the boys especially. But in some schools, they'll actually take a plate with a candle that's lit with obviously real fire, and they move on the line very slowly and deliberately, not too fast or abrupt movement, so that the candle doesn't go out. So I suggest wine is probably a good idea, or a cup of water. And if you really want to go to score a gold medal in the walking Olympics, you can shoot for the candle. But the idea really is you're trusting the children that they can walk in a straight line and simultaneously focus on that without spilling the wine, without spilling the water, without the candle going out. Okay, so in case you're worried of any fire hazard, scrap that idea, even though that is done in many Montessori schools, not so much in elementary, it's done in preschool. But Ayin Sham, go check out their YouTube lessons on walking in a straight line. Okay, so 21.2 is speaking with a soft voice, meaning not projecting the voice loud enough for anyone else in the classroom who doesn't need to hear. It needs to be loud enough for the person to whom I'm communicating with. And if the person I'm communicating with is across the classroom, what should I do? Raise my voice? Or walk over to that person and speak gently in a tone that is low enough for them to hear because they're only 3 feet away. Oh, so children need role modeling. And that means we're going to teach them something as simple as speaking gently, talking with a soft voice. Not an outside voice, if you want to call it, but an inside voice. Inside means indoor voice. If necessary, you will role model what it means to have an indoor voice and an outdoor voice. So you can ask the children who may be sitting in a circle or semicircle around you, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And you lower it until the point where they really can't hear you, and then say, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And you keep going louder. Can you hear me? And because you keep going at a different grade, you're helping the children up. You don't need to speak that loud for me to hear. And between all those different grades, you then ask the children, okay, which ones do you think I should be using in the classroom? The top one, the lowest, or somewhere in between? And it should really be probably within the first third of grades, if you want to call it that, of my voice, where it's above a whisper, but it's not loud. So that's helping children role model for them what's called a talking voice, a gentle voice, not a hard or a loud voice, because all it does in the classroom is lift up the decibels to a point where it becomes disturbing for people who are trying to focus on the work they're doing. Number 3, when walking or sitting, hands close to the body. Hands close to the body simply means that I'm not like swinging them around when I walk or going like this or anything like that, where I'm not paying attention to my immediate surroundings and people who might be there, or furniture that might be there, or someone who's building, call it the pink tower, where I go like that and whoa, it goes flying all over the place, using arms in a way that is limited. My arms are not for going like this in the classroom. So number 4 of this, how to ask the Rebbe or Morah for attention during the class. Rebbe! Morah! Morah! Now, here's the problem. We just talked about indoor voices. And if I do answer, me, the teacher, answer to the child who's screaming across the room, what am I telling them? What message am I sending? Oh, if you scream, you'll get my attention. So I'm not saying you should ignore out of spite or anger, but rather let them know that you don't respond to being screamed at, or screamed to, or shouted at, or for, or to. So that eventually, when you meet up with a kid, you can say, do you remember, Chaim, that you were trying to get my attention? Yeah, Rebbe. Well, do you know why I didn't answer? Not sure. Was it because I couldn't hear you? Or you think you were calling out loud enough? I thought it was loud enough. Well, so then why didn't I respond? Because I was shouting? That's right. If anyone shouts, then I won't answer. Do you remember that's the rule? Because once we encourage shouting and screaming, then everyone's going to be doing the same thing, and it's going to disturb our learning. Do you agree? Okay, good. So, always put in question form, but you help the children come to the conclusion on their own that this doesn't work. Because Rebbe is not going to give me an answer. He's not going to respond. He's not going to give me any attention if I call out Rebbe or Morah or scream out their name. And this is what we want to cultivate in the classroom, that outdoor voices belongs outdoors. The indoor voices, okay. So how do you ask a question during the class? Answer, put your hand up. So if I do answer kids who scream out, what am I saying? It's not easy, but the message is clear. There are no rules here that I myself take seriously. So if I don't take my own rules seriously, how do I expect you, the students, to take me seriously if I don't take me seriously? So if a kid wants to get the attention of the teacher, they come over and tap the teacher twice on the shoulder. Teacher shows acknowledgement of the kid getting their attention. No words, just simple protocol. What's the tap mean? I need your attention. My nod is saying, I know you need me. Right now you can see I'm busy and I will come to you as soon as I'm finished. If you need to say those words, you can. Chaim, as soon as I'm finished with Moshe, you're next. Or if necessary, Chaim, as soon as I finish with Moshe, Mordechai needs my attention, but you're next after Mordechai, so I'll come to you straight away. Now, once the kids learn from you, especially during work cycle, that Rebbe is busy with Chaim, then is busy with Mordechai, and I did ask for Rebbe's attention, they will learn that they're going to get their turn. So they don't need to fight to get their turn, because it's fair. Everyone knows that Rebbe will get to them. So that's a very simple protocol. It works very well in the Montessori model, where teachers are just tapped on the shoulder twice, very briefly. Morah, Rebbe acknowledges that the child needs attention, and the kid knows that Rebbe or Morah will get to them. So the kid now can go back to their work and wait patiently for the teacher to come to them. If it happens to be that you have a school policy of no touching, which might get a problem with handshaking, but let's say, just let's say for argument's sake, that we're up to a point where there's absolutely no tapping or touching. So another possibility is that the child will come over to the Rebbe or the Morah with a popsicle stick. Now, if you've got as many popsicle sticks as there are children in the classroom, and their name has been printed on the stick, handwritten, so the child knows to go over to the cup which has their name on their popsicle stick. The child will take his popsicle stick with his name printed on it out of his cup, the cup that has all the kids' popsicle sticks in, go to the teacher, show them the popsicle stick, and then put it in an empty cup, or if there's an order of a few sticks before his, he'll put it at the end of them, in a separate cup or separate container, so that he knows that he's shown the teacher that he wants their attention, and the teacher knows to get to them next, or as soon as they've finished the other popsicle stick names. Do you get what I mean? Okay, we're role modeling number 6 now, how to respond to a request from the Rebbe or the Morah. How should a child respond to a request? And the answer is with an affirmative, yes, Morah, or no, Morah, or yes, please, if that's appropriate, or no, thank you. And teach the children those are the words they need to use. It's part of Derech Eretz, it's part of being polite, but just say no. Yeah. Help them articulate with clear diction, yes please, or no thank you, or yes Morah, or yes Rebbe, so that the children learn how to communicate with adults, with other people. Don't let it go, because by letting it go, the kids will grow up this way, thinking it doesn't matter how I talk to people, and the answer is it does matter. It makes an enormous roshim on oneself, on the child himself, in being in control of knowing he has Derech Eretz when he talks with adults, and it will help his confidence in dealing with adults as well. Okay, number 7. How do we role model asking permission from a friend in the classroom to watch what they're doing? Let's say a child is working with the domino for vocabulary, and they're putting the word bara next to create, and the next word card is rosh, and he's looking for the equivalent word head. So you are interested and you go over and you just sit and stare. So what we want to do is teach the children, is it possible that Chaim, who's working with this domino vocabulary, might want to be working alone with no one watching? And if someone does want to watch, is it okay just to go over, or should we ask permission? The kids will answer the question. They know what Derech Eretz really is when their minds are guided in the right direction. And this question guides their mind in the right direction. So they'll answer, yeah, I guess maybe sometimes Chaim will not want others to watch what he's doing. And therefore, out of Derech Eretz, politeness, courtesy, we will go over to the child and say, Chaim, do you mind if I watch what you're doing? And most times, the Chaims in the classroom will probably say, they'll feel flattered, and they'll probably say, no, I don't mind. And then you would respond, thank you. If you want to say you're welcome, you can. But at this point, you just want to let the kid do his work. But you've gone through the protocol of asking permission to watch him. Sometimes 2 or 3 kids might want to come over, but the idea really is that you're respecting other children's space and time. You're respecting the fact that they might be wanting to work alone completely and focus completely without anyone watching. And there are times when the same kid will not mind you coming and watching, but always ask. So this way we never take for granted other people's time and space. Number 8, role modeling for our children, when to say please and thank you. So I have my own protocol, which I did with my own biological children and still do with my biological grandchildren, that when they ask me for something, Daddy or Sabak, can I have that? I say no. I immediately respond with a very cold no. And they know straight away that because I'm responding with such coldness, there was something missing in their request. Please. Now, I'm not going to be sarcastic and say that. I just say no. And their brain goes, why won't my father or my grandfather let me have that? Oh, I didn't ask nicely. And they straight away say, please. One of my kids, quite a few years ago, really tested me, where I'm sitting at the dais of one of my kids' bar mitzvah. And as one of the rabbis gets up to give a speech, I've got my 5-year-old sitting on my lap, or maybe he was 4, and saying, Daddy, can I have orange juice? He says it nice and loud, so everyone can hear. And I had to say, no. Really, I mean, just like that, no. And I didn't say it loud enough for everyone to hear, but it was clear I was saying no. And he immediately said, please. Oh, of course. So the way I change the tone of voice is the moment the kid says it right, please. Oh, of course. You respond with maybe a drop more endearment and willingness than the negative side of the no. You move to the positive side of the yes. Oh, sure, of course you can. So it's clear that really you wanted to originally, but you've set a very clear line. You don't say please, you don't get, period. Now, it has nothing to do with just the yes and the please. Those are just technical words. But it does have to do with the training of the mind to not take for granted, Magia li, give it to me. What do you mean give it to you? You always say please. And after you receive it, thank you. Simple ritual. Now, I know I'm slightly biased in the matter because I come from England, but nevertheless, if you look throughout Tanakh, you will notice that even Esav, Harasha, used the language of na all the time. Ve'ein lashon na ela bakasha. The language of na means please. You're not taking for granted. You're making a request that almost you're asking the person to favor you for something that you're not necessarily owed. And you'll look throughout Tanakh, once you start paying attention, you'll notice that people of such sordid character as Lavan use the language of na, please. Oh, interesting. So let's get it really into our culture, starting in the classroom, and make that something that we will role model for the children in the first days, weeks of school, so that they will know that that is what's expected of them. If we don't teach our children how to behave, why are we punishing them if we haven't role modeled it for them? It makes no sense. So, number 10 of this is how to tuck in a chair. Really? Yes. Well, you can pull a chair like this, right? And like this, or switch it out, or you can simply take the chair by the sides of the back of the chair and move it out, and then move around till you can sit down and pull it into the table. So we'll teach the children how to take a chair out from the table, how to tuck it in, how to transport a chair, how to transport a table, preferably with 2 kids, one at each end. So these are very simple rituals. They may sound like going too far, but really it's not true. Because when you teach children at a very young age, preferably in preschool and certainly in first grade, how to transport items, how to watch out for people in front of you, behind you, how to go up and down stairs, how to open and close a door, how to do the most simple things, including please and thank you, how can I help you? You're teaching them not just Derech Eretz, you're teaching them to be in control of their behavior. And that is part of self-discipline, which equals self-esteem. Children who feel good about themselves, that they are going b'halachta b'drachav, they're going in Hashem's ways. They are emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu because Hashem wants us to go in His ways. And the way Hashem acts is with Gimulus Chesed. The Torah starts with Gimulus Chesed. He dressed Adam and Chava when they realized they were undressed. He buried Moshe Rabbeinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Malei Chesed from the beginning of the Torah to the end of the Torah. And when we learn to be in control of our lives, our Tselem Elokim will shine, but especially in our dealings with other people. We walk in a way that doesn't knock other people. We walk and move our bodies in a way that respects our space and the space of other people. We will talk in a way that respects the person we're speaking to in front of us, that we don't have to scream across the room. If I need your attention, I have to go to you and ask for your attention, tap you on the shoulder, take a popsicle stick and identify myself as needing your attention next online. These are just simple ways where we help the children be in control of themselves, which equals self-esteem, which equals being Tselem Elokim, which equals v'halachta b'drachav, and we're connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through simple rituals of protocol behavior, as simple as pulling out a chair and putting it back, not dragging it along the floor, making a noise for the whole class to hear, but lifting it slightly off the floor so that it is not making a noise and disturbing other people, and how we put it back not by dragging it. Oh, so these are all ways to help us be in control of ourselves. So, number 11 was transporting a chair in the classroom, and that's picking it up by the sides and moving deliberately and carefully with the chair in front of you and you able to see what's around you. Don't pick the chair up and drag it along on your side. Hold it in front of you. If they're very heavy chairs in the room, we'll have to figure out the least burdensome way to carry it. Shouldn't be a burden to your spine. Okay, moving forward, number 12. How to roll and unroll a mat. So there are many lessons that are given in grace and courtesy, as they call it, which is really Derech Eretz. In the Montessori training, one of them is how to roll and unroll a mat. So number 13 of this is how to walk around a mat. If we're going to have children working on mats, and the mat defines their work area, where the materials are within those perimeters, then that also teaches everyone else around them that this is their space, and we walk around it, not through it, across it. So we will actually role model walking around the mat. That might be in our line of walking, but because there's a mat in the way, we will simply walk around it as opposed to walk over it. Don't do that. Even if the kid is not at the mat, don't do that. Don't walk on it, don't walk over it, walk around it. Number 14, role model for the child how to remove a material from the shelves. 15 is how to return the materials to the shelf. So that really means that once you've finished working with a educational material, it gets put back on its tray, and then the tray is taken back to its place where you got it from in the same condition with which you had removed it, so that the next person is able to use it immediately. It's ready for use. Number 16 is what standard you're going to hold the children to in terms of Derech Eretz during a class lesson, during a group lesson. So we mentioned about putting one's hand up, not calling out of turn and not calling out without putting a hand up, ignoring a kid who calls out of turn, because if we do accept their answer or comment or question without them having put their hand up, we're teaching all the kids, including that one, that you don't have to take me seriously when I set up protocol in the group lesson, because if I'm going to violate my own rule, of course you don't have to keep it either. So that's really important. What protocol do you want to set up in the group lesson so that it is most efficient, that everyone can benefit from? Number 17 is lining up for dismissal from the end of the day of school, or transition from classroom into recess and then back. We discussed this actually, so even though I've got it down here as one of the items, we actually have discussed this in a fair amount of detail. Number 18 is to do with the 5 minute before the bell rings to clean up the classroom. So that means the employment agency now really goes into full swing, and the ones who might be in charge of sweeping the floor, cleaning the desks or table surfaces, making sure that materials are not lying on the floor, and if something has to stay on a mat because a kid has unfinished work there, he'll put his name on a label, a nice big label like that size with his name Eliezer on the mat, so everyone knows, oh, that's Eliezer, he hasn't finished his work, so leave it there. But otherwise, if it's just before recess, then 5 minutes before, let's clean up. If it's 5 minutes before lunch, let's clean up. 5 minutes before the end of school day, let's clean up. And clean up will include all the different jobs that the kids have been assigned with that are related to making sure the physical environment is taken care of before we leave the classroom. It cannot be left in a bigger mess. It shouldn't be left in any mess, but it shouldn't be left worse than how we found it. It should be at least that or better, and give much less work for the janitor. Hey, if the janitor has to put in less work, that might save the yeshiva money. Interesting thought. Okay, moving ahead, I think it's number 19. Role model for a child, how you would invite them for a lesson. What you want to teach the kids in the classroom is that any material on the shelf they are allowed to work with if they've had a lesson. If they've not had a lesson in that material, then the rule is they're not allowed to use that work. They're entitled to come to you and ask you for a lesson, in which case they're revealing to you that they're interested in that work, in that material, in that part of the classroom activity and curriculum. That's a great clue. The other possibility is that they really feel that they're ready for it. And if you know that they're not, because they haven't finished something that is a prerequisite to that material, you simply ask them, oh, have you done the other prefixes on the brown banner? Have you finished the brown banner before you start the yellow banner? Have you finished the yellow banner before you start the red banner, etc.? So that you really want to be sure that what they're asking you to do is something they can have a lesson and be successful in, and that they're not missing any incremental lessons before this one that are prerequisite to being successful in this one. Because it's not about free-for-all, it really is about structure. Structure equals function. So how would you invite a child to do an individual lesson? Moshe, I noticed that you were looking at how I was working with Chaim yesterday with the Taryag mitzvahs, and you looked like you were really interested, and I haven't given you a lesson in how to use the stick figure version in matching with the other cards. Would you like a lesson in that? So you're showing them why you think he might be interested, and that he looked like he was, and now you're giving him a choice. If he says yes, that's great. If he says no, said, oh, is now not a good time or another time, you can ask him what's behind the no. Maybe it's because he was just fascinated and curious yesterday, but that's not really where he's at. Or it could be that he hasn't finished what he's doing, and I'm actually asking at a bad time because he's in the middle of something that he's really into. So I have to pay attention to that too. Oh, is it because you're busy right now? Or how much more time do you need to finish the chapter that you're reading? 5 more minutes is enough? Okay. And then would you like a lesson in the Taryag mitzvahs? Okay, good. I look forward to you coming over to me in about 5 minutes. And so these are ways where you're going to invite the child to reveal to you if they're ready for the next incremental level in shroshim, prefixes, suffixes, yellow banner, brown banner, red banner for future tense, blue banner for past tense, etc. You'll move the kid along the curriculum, and you can invite them by asking, would you like me to give you a lesson? If they say yes, that's great. It's a clue that they're ready. If they say no, that's great, because it's a clue they might not be ready, or they're gravitating to other parts of the curriculum, or they actually are struggling with this part of the curriculum, and that's great because now I know to start at an earlier point or to review something that they may be weak in. So nothing is bad over here, it's only good. The question is, how do I read it? How do I understand it correctly? And if necessary, ask the kid what's behind his no. Is this a bad time for you because you haven't finished what you're doing? Are you having a difficult time with the brown banner, with the yellow banner? Would you like me to work with the materials that came before this banner? So just your tone of voice and your sense of wanting to help him, as opposed to urgency to move him along on the conveyor belt to get to the showcase ASAP. The child will pick up from the teacher whether the teacher is doing this from pressure. You're really making me look bad. All the other kids are finished all 4 banners. You're still in the middle of the second one. This is going to make me look really bad on the report card that you're making such low progress. Now, all I need is 3 more kids like you. They're going to reduce my paycheck. You're ruining my career. Now, of course, no one speaks like that. But what I'm saying is, in the mind of the child, why should I be urgent? Why should I be pressuring the kid? Let the kid reveal to me where they're up to. And if it's not clear why they are resisting, ask, explore, investigate, and find out. And if the tone of voice is not one of pressure, the tone of voice is one of searching for understanding, the children know to trust you, respect you, and will be able to be honest about their fear, resistance, why they don't like this or they're not understanding it. And then that's an important brief conversation to identify, so where should we begin? How can I help you more? Where did you first notice that you're struggling? So that's all part of Al Pi Darko. So number 20 of this, role model how you will give a mini lesson to the entire class or group. So before the children go into the work cycle, after the routine and ritual in the morning, announce to them that you have an interesting group lesson that you're excited to give to the children. You don't have to use those exact words. I like those words personally, because when you say you're excited to give, you're preparing their emotional expectation that they're going to be excited as well. If you say, I've got a very interesting material to introduce you to today, and I think you'll really enjoy it a lot, then the kids are going to be saying, well, if you really think it's going to be that enjoyable, why don't you tell your face and your voice that you're excited to share it with us? So I'm slightly exaggerating, of course, but every child is born with video cameras at the front of their face that translates everything in super high definition, and with 2 stereo microphones on each side of the face, and they pick up everything. They are acutely aware of my body language, my tone of voice, my facial expressions. They can pick up very easily if there's pressure in my question, if there's disappointment in my voice or facial expression. Now, Moshe, let's look at it again. Vav means and. Base means in or with. Now, I'm being slightly sarcastic, but they can pick up when I'm being sarcastic. And my body language is saying, you're stupid, dumb, unintelligent, slow, and it's about time you got this, and that's why I'm fed up of repeating it. All right, Moshe, one more time, just because the kid's father's the president, I've got to be patient. Let's look at this word one more time. Vav means and, okay? Good. Say it one more time. And. Good. We'll continue this tomorrow. So you're clearly stating that you're fed up, you have lost your patience, and that in your mind, your expectation of where this kid should be is over here, where right now is over here. What do you mean? What my mind? Al Pi Darko goes on me, the Menahel, the Rosh Yeshiva, the Gadol Der, or on this kid. Oh, so Al Pi Darko means go at this kid's pace, not where I expect him to be, go where he is and move him forward. So these kids are fully aware of what I'm saying with my body, my voice, choice of words, facial expressions. So Alpi Darko really requires of me to work on myself, to invite the child endearingly to the next lesson and listen carefully if there's resistance. Listen carefully to the reasons why they don't want to do what you're asking them to do or inviting them to do, because that's going to help reveal what's going on inside of them. And that's Chanuch Lenar Al Pi Darko, because Darko is something the child has to reveal for me to do the chinuch for, because if I don't give the kid a chance to tell me what's upsetting him or what's resisting him from moving forward in the curriculum in a specific area, or because of my pressure and artificial forcing him forward, I'm not doing Alpi Darko. I'm not servicing this individual child. Okay, we're up to 21. Role model how you, the teacher, will act when a kid makes a mistake. Now, I think you're going to get the kids' attention with this one. Children, I'm now going to role model for you how the Rebbe is going to react when you make a mistake. When you drop a glass of water and it spills on the floor and crashes and splinters into lots of pieces. And I'm going to ask you, which of these two scenarios do you think I should be for you? I can't believe you broke it again. I wish you weren't in my class. You're just one big liability. I can't believe I've enough insurance for kids like you. So now, obviously I'm getting a little bit carried away and just being really honest, but another possibility would, Chaim, the shmatas are in the cupboard above the sink. Moshe, do you want to help Chaim? Oh, thank you. And there's no anger in the voice, no disappointment. Just drop the vase, drop the glass. It spilled, it splattered, it splintered. So what? Mistakes happen. Part of living, being human. And we want kids in the classroom to learn from the adults in the classroom how to respond to their mistakes. Will I get angry, disappointed? Will I, has v'shalom, use any negative words or body language, or roll my eyes, or go, oh, not again. Okay, Moshe, you know where the shmatas are. Even that's, is a lot better than my first option of screaming at the kid in front of the other children. But it's still sarcasm, it's still disappointment. That's not where I should be. Where I need to be in advance is prepared for scenarios where the kids will make mistakes, will break things, will give the wrong answer. And my commitment to you is not to embarrass you, not to make you feel a fool or stupid or dumb or clumsy or low IQ or slow or unintelligent. None of that. And I'm committing to that. Not easy, but tell them up front. And give a few examples of how you will respond when they make a mistake. Not if, when they make a mistake. Make them feel safe in your classroom. Make them feel, I'm not afraid of making a mistake, and therefore I'm willing to risk learning where I might make a mistake. But if I learn that I get my Rebbe angry, or my father angry, when I make a mistake, then guess what? Will I be more encouraged to try again? Or less encouraged? And then you're going to blame me later on in my adult life why I'm so scared of making a decision, why I always will avoid taking any risk. And there's no such thing if you really want to live. How do you not take any risks? It's not possible. And yet it's possible. As a child I might have been wired because of shouting or screaming when I dropped something or I gave the wrong answer and people laughed at me, and even the teacher might have sniggered along with that laugh. And I said, okay, I'm not opening my mouth again. And then my brain shuts down and doesn't even search for answers when I'm being asked, because I don't want to take the risk of being a fool. And so I'd rather be silent and dumb than reveal to you that I'm dumb. And that's a terrible lesson for life. Okay, so there's a lot flying over here in me contractually telling the children, this is my commitment to you, how I will respond to your mistakes or weaknesses or when you break something in the classroom. Number 22, let's role model how do we deal with a kid who's not engaged in any of the work during work cycle. So go over to Moshe. Moshe, I noticed that you're not working with anything right now. Is everything okay? Yes, Rebbe. Okay, so what have you chosen to work? Nothing. What's the reason you're not working this work cycle? I don't feel like doing anything right now. Oh, did you sleep well last night? Yeah. So, did you have a full breakfast this morning? I think so. Okay, so do you want to spend a few minutes on the thinking chair to just relax your mind and then let's say in 3 minutes come back and tell me what work you want to choose? Okay. So I'm not saying that will be the outcome of your conversation, but you want the child to feel you understand the kid. And that if you've explored possible options for why he's not getting work, maybe he's got a headache, maybe he didn't sleep well last night, maybe he didn't have a full breakfast, maybe something happened on the bus that he's just frustrated. There's all sorts of possibilities. So I don't have to discipline the kid like he did something wrong. He's not engaged in work, he's not gainfully employed right now, but I can help the child understand that I'm willing to explore that with him. And if he can't reveal to me any avenues that will help me know how to guide him towards a work on the shelves, a material to work with, then give him the option to sit and relax for a few minutes on the thinking chair. And most times, not saying every time, most times they'll cooperate because they feel you care. They sense, they are experiencing your respect for them. And so they can't not want to respect you in return. And if there is something wrong, like a headache, he's more likely to tell you if you're coming over and exploring what's going on, as opposed to working on the assumption, Moshe, you haven't taken any work out yet. Everyone else is working. Find something now and get to it. That's all working on the assumption that everything's fine. 1 second, if he's roaming around the classroom not finding something off the shelves to work with, obviously everything's not necessarily fine. So explore that first. Don't work on an assumption that he's the only one who's not working. There must be something wrong with you. No, be respectful. And by being respectful, the kid will want to cooperate. If the kid does have a headache, he'll probably tell you. If he's tired, he'll probably tell you. If after getting off the chair, after 2 minutes, he still hasn't chosen anything, you can say, well, would you prefer to choose a book that is one of your favorites and you read that for, let's say, 10 minutes, and then maybe your mind will be clear and choose a work after that? So you're just working with the kid. So by working with the kid, you're more likely to get his cooperation. If you start seeing a pattern of this, that is something to be mindful of, so that if a pattern starts to emerge where he's not finding things to work with off the shelf, there's a bigger picture for me to now explore. What is it that this kid is not engaged in? What does he gravitate to? What does he enjoy the most? Let's figure out how can I make that material more interesting for him. Okay, that was number 22. And I do believe number 23, and the last one here, is how to use their day planner and their Achrayis sheet. So Friday or Monday, you work with each kid to go through their Achrayis sheet, their responsibility sheet, portfolio, of where they're up to in the various areas of the curriculum, in shorashim, prefixes, suffixes, reading accuracy, reading fluency, climbing Har Sinai workbook, where they're up to in Tariq mitzvahs, in the memory system, on the timeline, in Trop, how many prakim of Chumash they've done Chazara. There's so many areas that on the Achrayis sheet you go through with the kid on a Monday, preparing how many units do you want to cover in shorashim, in prefixes, where you're up to in the banner, how many do you want to do? And you work with the kid so that the kid reveals to you not only where are they in the curriculum in a very defined way on these worksheets, which become later on the platform for your assessments, but also the child will reveal to you what he's really accelerating in the curriculum in terms of going really fast and beyond, and he's getting a kinyan. So that's telling you he's endeared to that. He loves Tariq mitzvahs, or he's really good with halacha, or he's really good with trop. He's musical, so he loves covering ground there. He might not be reading accurately, so we need to really brush up on that and tighten those screws, especially that he really wants to be musical in reading the musical cantillation notes. So the child, by going through on a Monday in preparation for the rest of the week, or Friday in preparation for the following week, his Achrayis sheet, and identify where he's up to in the curriculum, in each area of the curriculum, and how many units he projects he's going to cover next week, and put it down as those are the goals for his Achrayis sheet for next week. These are ways for you to build a rapport with the child, for the child to feel you respect the kid, that you're going at the pace of the child, that you're going as the child is ready, and you're helping move him along in all the different areas. So, don't get overwhelmed with all the 23 items that we've thrown at you and their subcategories. There's a lot to fly over here. It's not something you have to be successful in the first year, even the second year. It takes 5 to 10 years to get really, really good at doing all this. So be patient with yourself. The kids are going to exponentially grow even by introducing a few of these components. But at least there's a structure here for you to have, if you want to call it a checklist, of different areas to cover in the first weeks of school to build, I don't want to call it boot camp exactly, but build structure into the day, the routine and ritual every morning, so that the children's expectations of what you expect of them in the class are very clear. And I'm willing to say, close to 100% guarantee, you will see a measurable difference in the reduction of classroom management and discipline problems, because the kids are engaged in the materials on the shelves and they know clearly the expectations of the teacher in the classroom from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And even during work cycle, when the children are choosing materials from the shelves on their own, there's a structure there, and they know that you are there to help and assist them, and their need for negative attention, for starting up with other kids, is going to be reduced because you're covering so many areas. Role modeling Derech Eretz on how to resolve conflict in the classroom, in recess, and you're building a community out of your classroom in the zchus of our sincere efforts to help our children become tomorrow's B'nai Torah and B'nais Torah and leaders of Klal Yisrael in the zchus of giving the attention that every child deserves. Al pi Darko, maybe we zeicha to tremendous hatzlacha and success in our efforts, and see tremendous nachas ruach from the children, and through that give nachas ruach to the Beir Olam, the Creator Himself. Amen.